Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. I want to speak to you this morning frankly and candidly, as I do every morning, about a series of issues that profoundly concern me. The first issue was raised by a close friend and colleague of mine about Congresswoman Omar and Tlaib. The president has taken after them, saying, well, they don't really belong here. After all, they should go back where they came from. This is not the first time the president has offered this refrain. And the question becomes, these two individuals who have been accused of being anti-Semites, these two individuals who were elected to Congress by their constituents, should they be allowed to serve? So I want to make my position clear, as I did to my friend and colleague. This is not the first time that we have had racists, bigots, anti-Semites in Congress. People have the right in their districts to elect the people that they want to represent them. It doesn't mean that we sit passively by if comments are made, as Omar and Tlaib have in the past, made comments that are offensive, particularly to the Jewish community. But it does mean that the idea that they don't belong in Congress, or the implication that they don't look like us, or the implication that, frankly, they were not worthy of being Americans, those kinds of comments are unacceptable and wrong. I want to make very clear to all of you that even bigots and racists have the right to run for the Congress or for the legislature or for local offices and win. They have a right to serve if they are elected. But that does not mean that they are free of criticism, free of our feelings, passionate feelings about their views. That, to me, is the essence of American democracy, the idea that you can serve. Now, I want to deal with another question. I have avoided, in large measure, discussing the Epstein case. I've done so because I find Epstein so repulsive, and what he did over many years absolutely horrific. But I want to say that NPR, which Donald Trump has gone after, let me remind you, Donald Trump has ripped NPR, has had funding taken away from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. NPR filed a report on Donald Trump saying that Trump's abuses involving the Epstein case were withheld by the U.S. Department of Justice. That's right. That Epstein files related to allegations that President Donald Trump sexually abused a minor have been removed from the file. The NPR report is very clear. It comes amid scrutiny by journalists and lawmakers of more than 1 million pages of documents the Department of Justice released in late January related to the federal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein and his abuses. Let's be clear. The files appeared to be withheld. They included dozens of pages of FBI interviews and notes from conversations with women who accused Donald Trump of sexual abuse decades ago when this young woman was a minor. That is the NPR story. What we do know is that the Department of Justice denied the allegation reported by NPR, saying all responsive documents were produced unless they are duplicates, privileged, or part of the original federal investigation. We are also told that some files have been temporarily pulled for reasons of redaction. I want everyone to understand very clearly the evidence that we now have. Donald Trump resisted completely any release of the Epstein files. Donald Trump could have ordered the release of the files and chose not to. Donald Trump has repeatedly accused the Epstein matter of being a Democrat hoax. Let me explain to Donald Trump and to you who are listening to me at this moment that the Epstein situation is not a Democrat hoax. It is a real case of pedophile abuse, just horrific actions. You will note that on the night of the State of the Union, just last night, what happened was, or the night before last to be precise, what happened was that a group of survivors were invited to attend the State of the Union. They were not acknowledged. Do you remember when Donald Trump debated Hillary Clinton? And do you remember what he did? He marched into the debate with a group of women who theoretically had been abused by Bill Clinton. Do you remember that? I do. It was shocking. And I think it had an impact. But the important element here is that Donald Trump, denying abuse allegations, accusing this whole thing of being a hoax when we know it isn't. Let me be clear. The department previously said some documents contained, and I want to quote directly, untrue sensationalist claims against Donald Trump. A White House spokesman told NPR that Trump had, quote, been totally exonerated on anything relating to Epstein, according to the report. That is not true. But what is true is that evidently the Justice Department cannot be trusted. And I want to be clear about this. The Trump administration and the Justice Department cannot be trusted in this matter. And that is why Congress passed a resolution ordering the release of all the files. Remember, it passed the House of Representatives with only one vote in dissent, a Republican. The simple truth is that we need to know whether Donald Trump did, in fact, abuse a young woman. And the fact is the White House is not cooperating. And the fact is that the White House is hurling statements that it is a Democrat hoax. The Epstein matter is not a Democrat hoax. I want to repeat that emphatically. And I want to say with absolute clarity that something is being covered up. Does anybody doubt that? Am I wrong? I don't think so. Now, I don't know what Donald Trump did or did not do, but I do know that he was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. I know that over many years they were best friends. I know that it is now politically expedient to separate himself from Epstein. I understand that. Today, even as we talk about Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton is going to give testimony at her home in Chappaqua, and Bill Clinton is going to give testimony tomorrow dealing with the Epstein matter. This matter is not closed. This matter is not a Democrat hoax. By the way, I resent the fact that Donald Trump uses the term Democrat in terms of describing this. It is the Democratic Party, not the Democrat Party. I've said that before, and I shall say it again. So we're going to watch today what else unfolds. But one thing is certain, and I want to offer this as one more thing to say. That is that the Justice Department of Donald Trump is not fair, it is not impartial, it would better be called the Injustice Department. This Epstein matter needs to be explored, flushed out, understood. Donald Trump needs to be forthcoming. The fact that he isn't should disturb every American, Democrat or Republican. Now, I want to talk about something else, something that happened yesterday on the Senate side, and that had to do the confirmation hearing for Dr. Casey Means. Dr. Casey Means has been nominated to be the Surgeon General of the United States. And if you listened carefully to her testimony, you found it to be a reflection of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Means faced tough questions. There is no doubt that there are real concerns. And one particular comment by Bernie Sanders evoked a lot of discussion. I have very serious questions about the ability of Dr. Means to be the kind of Surgeon General this country needs. And among the issues which were raised were her views on contraception, her views on autism. If you listen carefully to her testimony, what she did was obfuscate. She never really answered. And that, to me, is very important. Means said she thinks that oral contraceptives should be available to all women, but, and it's a big but, raised concerns about what she called horrifying side effects. That's a direct quote. I have spoken with gynecologists, I have spoken with physicians, and the implications that birth control pills are dangerous is dismissed virtually down the line. The idea that there is some implication that these pills may also cause autism and that other things may cause autism as well, let me explain to you that the position was summed up by Senator Patty Murray of Washington, who asked Means to address past comments that birth control pills were being prescribed like candy and showed a disrespect of things that create life. Means said she thinks oral contraceptives should be available to all women. But, and this is the big thing, this woman who would be Surgeon General of the United States raised concerns about what she called those horrifying side effects that we just talked about. Doctors do not have enough time for a thorough, informal consent conversation, she said, which is pure rubbish. And those of you who are women who have been in this position understand that it's pure rubbish. This administration, when it comes to health and safety, is off the rails. You know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is the Secretary for Health and Human Services, said that his Make America Healthy Again movement is bipartisan. But I have to tell you something. It isn't really. You and I know that what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing is perpetrating a fraud on American medicine. He has no business as Secretary of Health and Human Services. And may I say, if I were a member of the United States Senate, there is no doubt that I would not vote for the confirmation of Dr. Casey Means. Her record is clear, and the statements she has made, well, they're just plain wrong. I don't agree with Bernie Sanders very often, but when he says he has serious questions about the ability of Dr. Means to be the kind of Surgeon General this country needs, he's absolutely right. These are but two issues. There is a third, which I want to raise this morning briefly, and that has to do with Iran. It seems that the administration is preparing for an attack on Iran. We will be talking more about that in the days ahead. No doubt about it. You cannot move massive amounts of military equipment and our ships, including the Gerald R. Ford and others, to the region and not expect that something is going to happen. I want you all to be aware that the President of the United States, when it comes to Iran, will make the final decision. But we, the American people, are entitled to understand what he's doing and why. These are real questions, and it appears that the Trump administration is going to resist in every way any concerns about what it's doing and how it's doing it. Whether it has to do with Omar and Tlaib, whether it has to do with Epstein and the cases involved there, whether it has to do with simple questions like who should be the Surgeon General of the United States, whether it has to do with Iran. This administration has proven itself to be less than credible. In fact, I would say we've got a real problem. Don't you agree? Thank you for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. You can write a review on Apple Podcasts, drop a comment on YouTube or Spotify, and click any of the links to the show notes to connect with me on social media. Tomorrow is Friday. I expect that we will have a question and answer session, and I expect, based on the events of the last week, that many of you will have questions. Make sure you include your name. Go-Go Zoger will relay those to me, and we will do additional time tomorrow on question and answers, as we do every Friday. Remember to share this episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which of course is our goal. This show has been getting so much positive attention that we now have advertising support. I've been asked whether we expect that to grow and expand, and the answer is yes. We hope to be able to create more opportunities for Around the Political World with John Rothman, and we are happy to do it. I want to say a big thank you to Go-Go Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast. We cover a lot, and there are a lot of things we don't have time to cover. But we do our best, and we appreciate the kind words and the support from all of you. This is John Rothman. I'll be back tomorrow with more Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.